If you had to teach a brand new white belt one single principle about staying safe and having longevity in the sport, what would it be? If I had one thing to tell a new white belt, is hip control over everything. Most of the submissions that you're going to get and most of the positions that you're going to hold on someone is always related to hip control, either your own or theirs. And so the quicker you're able to understand that concept and use it, the better you're gonna be, and just the faster your progress is gonna be. If I had to put a second principle down, it'd be risk control. Risk control simply because the other person, if they can't really use their arms, then what are they really gonna do to you? They can't even touch you. So hip control first, and then if I could add a second one, risk control. How do you manage the mental pressure or anxiety that comes from sparring? And what is your internal dialogue during a hard roll? Against people that are really good, like when I go against really experienced, even professionals, I tell myself I have a lot of experience. I've exposed myself enough times to really hard rolls where there's really not much I don't see coming. And it's really just how well can I control people's hips? How well can I stop the kind of the barrage of control put upon me? I would also say that beyond just having the experience, just having the being humble enough to know I can always tap, because I feel like that's part of the whole thing. Is if you don't want to tap, you'll get more tense. And that could, lead you to some bad dead ends. So I just always think I can always tap, man. If it gets too bad, I can always tap. Although, we all have egos and no one wants to tap the pressure. I would never want to tap the pressure. But it's, as long as you have the experience to know, man, these are the possibilities, then dealing with a really hard roll, you can foresee all right, I don't want to let that person get too deep here, blah, blah, blah. What was the biggest difference between how you approach training now versus when you were a white belt? Man, I feel like the biggest difference now compared to when I was a white belt is I just wanted to be flashy and I just wanted to submit people quick. And I didn't think about my longevity, so I didn't think about my joints. I didn't think about I didn't think about anything like strategy or principles. It was just how quick can I submit this person. And now that I'm older along this journey, I really think about how can I have an evergreen game? How can I train or how can I play jiu-jitsu now in a similar way when I'm 20 years older? And so that's what's really changed my mind. So I'm much slower, intentionally slower now. I really focus on what I'm doing outside the gym. So, making sure I'm not just training my muscles to look big, but I can actually move people around the way that I want to, still have dexterity in my hips, because, that's obviously a problem. As you age, you get stiffer if you don't focus on that stuff. And probably being real intentional with caring for my injuries. Man, when I was younger, I would let people really crank the shit out of a kimura, or really just go at it with my ankles. And man, you pay the price, dude. You pay the price. A couple years now, I started training 8 years ago, and shoulder flexibility that I had 8 years ago, yeah, that was great. That's because I was 8 years younger. And now that I'm older, dude, my shoulder feels way less stable because I allowed it to be hyper stretched. I didn't really focus on stability. It was just I got rubber joints right now, go for it. But now I'm paying for it. So that's what I've changed, is evergreen game. How can I make sure I play well now, so when I'm 20 years older, these young bucks that are coming up still have a hard time messing with me? Which higher level belt, blue, purple, brown, or black, required the most significant shift in your game or mindset to achieve, and why? So I'm a brown belt right now, and I feel like this is the biggest mindset shift belt that I've had. White belt, you're learning. Blue belt, you start to understand. And but you really don't understand what's going on. Purple belt, I've gained a little bit more understanding of like game plans and, you know, positions and techniques. But once I hit this brown belt level, man, it's like now I'm really close to black belt, and I'm much more self-critical and self-aware of what I'm doing while I'm doing it compared to just the lower belts. I was just vibing it out, but now that I'm a little bit higher up on this journey, you know, I reflect, and I'll reflect right after the roll, or I'll sometimes we'll just spend like a whole hour at the gym just discussing concepts and ideas. And I feel like when I was earlier in this journey, it kind of bored me. I was like, dude, I don't want to know about like philosophy. I just want to do the thing. But now that I'm in it for so long, it's like, man, the way you think about how you think is super important. And so that was probably one of the biggest changes that I had, was just like now that I'm a brown belt, I just want to reflect, man, but constantly, and make sure that I don't get bad habits, because I can see them showing up during the roll, and I can, as soon as I do a thing, I go, fuck, man, I used to do that when I was a blue belt. Like, why am I still doing that? Because I think it's still cool, but it's you know, it's not really what I'm trying to go for. And if I have like I have this vision, this ideal of who I want to be as a black belt, and in order for me to hit this ideal, I have to shed these beliefs and these habits that up until now really helped me. But if I want to strive for this new ideal, I have to get rid of this old programming. And you know, it can be frustrating, but that's really what it takes. And so it's just like, that's what you do. If you were coaching a beginner for a first-time competition, what is the one non-technical piece of advice you would give them about their mindset on the day of the event? You have to visualize yourself winning. I feel like that's the biggest thing when it comes to competing, is you have to believe you're gonna get that gold medal, you're gonna go up on that podium, you're gonna get the belt. Like, if you're going to compete just to see how you do, like, what do you think the chances are of you actually winning are gonna be? I don't really think it's gonna be that high. Of course, there's like an element of detachment where you don't want to put so much pressure on yourself to where, like, if I lose, I'm a loser, but also going with just the intent of, I'll just see how I do. Like, I don't see how that mentality can lead you to like be the best version of yourself you can be. And so my advice would be, if you're going to compete or try to do anything well, you have to visualize the result. Like, this is what I want, not just, I'm just gonna try it out. So visualize yourself winning all your matches, visualize yourself getting that gold medal on the podium, you know, happy, celebrating with everybody. Like, that really sets you up to when you go on the mat, it's like, dude, this is the performance this is the performance that I need to achieve my goal, not the other way around. I was like, oh, if I perform well, then I'll achieve the goal. No, fuck that. You have to start with the end in mind, and that really helps. What is the number one most reliable escape you rely on when you get caught in your opponent's strongest pin? Hand on the knees, man. Hands on the knees. It's like elbows tight and hands on the knee. But if I had to choose between the two, just put your hand on the knee, dude. It doesn't really matter what position I find myself in. Even like people when they take the back, it's like, obviously, you know, protect the neck, but dude, try to distance yourself from their hips, and you do that by hitting their knees. And so the more your hands are controlling that area of their body, it's really hard for them to control you, and it's really easy for you to control them, because since your hand is on their knee, you can feel where they're going, right? And it's just way better. Usually like half guard, which is what I play the most. Man, half guard, I already have control of one leg. I put my other hand on their knee. I'm not controlling the other leg, but I basically have a very good awareness of what the other leg is doing. And then with my free hand, it's either hand on the chest, you know, underhook, overhook, whatever it is, and I have 3 points of contact. And what are they gonna do? At that point, it's like, even though I'm in a pin, I'm not really being controlled. And so hand on the knees, most important tool in my opinion. What is one concept or detail that fundamentally changed your understanding of jiu-jitsu, and how do you apply it? So fundamentally, I learned that there's two games going on in jiu-jitsu at all times. There's the technical game, which is how well you can apply techniques that you've learned, so like your library. And then the second game, which is more important, is how well you can control the person. And so I believe if you want to have really good jiu-jitsu, you don't need that big of a library of techniques, but you need to have really good control, like techniques. You need to know how to control someone. So for perfect example is like a white belt, someone who wrestled or something like that, and they're really good at wrestling. Their library of techniques is super slim, but they know how to control. That person's going to be really good at jiu-jitsu. But the way that I see people say you're good at jiu-jitsu, it's like you have a really big arsenal of techniques. But is that like an evergreen game? Is that like a game that you can actually use over a 30-year career? A better example is how well can you control people? Because as you age, your flexibility and your speed is going to decrease. But if you're still able to control someone, then dude, you're still going to be lethal. So fundamentally what changed for me was, am I learning how to control someone, or am I just learning these fancy techniques that I can just kind of spam because I can, you know? And then eventually, like, I don't really think that's a long-term game. How has the philosophical concept of the gentle art manifested in your life outside the gym? So when I was a white belt and blue belt specifically, man, I used to live and breathe jiu-jitsu, right? It was like the things that I learned in the gym apply outside of life. Like you have to conquer your insecurities, and you have to like be okay with discomfort, and you have to like, you know, push through difficulties. And now that I'm like way older into this jiu-jitsu process, I don't really see the teachings of jiu-jitsu applying that much into my life anymore. Simply because the way that I see jiu-jitsu mostly kind of thought about, it's, especially like when you're at the gym, it's like either you're winning or you're losing, man. And if you apply that into your life, when I apply that into my life, you know, I always felt like I was behind, like, oh, I'm not really a winner because I'm not where I need to be. And so I kind of discarded this whole gentle art philosophy with jiu-jitsu simply because it's too much about winning and losing. And so what I like to look at, how I like to look at it now, it's like, am I sharing my success with people, or am I not? And that way, it's like I still get better at jiu-jitsu, but I don't have to look at life as this black and white win or lose thing, you know? And I find it better too because I can discern more. It's like, man, this person isn't where I want to be, so maybe I just distance myself from them. That doesn't mean I hate them. That doesn't mean that they're a loser. I just don't want to be involved, you know? Or this person is where I want to be. Let me be involved with them. Not that I'm a loser and they're a winner and now we can't be on the same plane. So changing the way that I view things also helped my jiu-jitsu, but like fundamentally, I don't think I use that concept too much of like jiu-jitsu as an extension of life's problems. In a scramble, what is your primary objective? To gain a position or prevent your opponent from gaining a position? I thought about this a lot, man. And what I think I do is, in a scramble, I want to gain a position by preventing the other person from gaining a position. Because in jiu-jitsu, it seems like at the higher levels, it's more about counters than actual like imposing your will. Of course, if you have a huge like skill discrepancy or control discrepancy, right, which is strength or just speed or whatever, then yeah, you can impose your will. But if you're dealing with someone that's on the same level as you, then it's really about countering. And when you're in a scramble, if the person has the intent of faking to then make you do a move to then counter that move, then you're gonna be a step behind. And so in the scramble, what I've noticed myself do now is I do exactly that. I fake a move, or I hold on to something and don't commit to the next move until they react, and then I go, okay, if they're reacting, then there's probably like a little opening over here, and then I go around. So yeah, scramble wise, that's usually what I try to do. I try to slow it down as well. Man, dude, I've been rolling with like 18-year-olds now, and dog. When I was younger, I thought I was, top dog, but there's always bigger fish in the sea, and so you have to like really change your game, otherwise you're gonna get left behind. Describe a plateau you experienced in your journey. What was the mental or technical hurdle, and what specific change allowed you to break through it? Dude, when I came to workshop, I was so focused on I need to be really good at this technique and that technique, and learning from Larry, like his philosophy is control first. And so we would do like kimuras for months, and I'm like, dude, I get it, I get the kimura, but like what more is there to learn? And I was getting bored and I wanted to leave, but I stuck around, man. And like the biggest hurdle that I eventually overcame was this understanding that I don't need a lot of techniques. I need to know how to control someone and then like slap on a technique on top of that control. And once I understood that, and bro, I'll tell you, like I probably understood that within the last like 8 to 9 months. So imagine, I've been training for almost 9 years, and I've been training at workshop for almost 5 years. And only now am I like, okay, like it's not about how much techniques you have, but it's how well can you control the person. And once I understood that, man, like I'm much more relaxed. Like I don't need to know the next fundamental like meta game. It's just like within the meta game, like how are they controlling the person, and then you add your own little twist, So that's what I say fundamentally changed for me. So thanks for doing this, Jesse. Thanks for you guys for watching. My name is Bruno Rodrigues, brown belt from Workshop, and we got open mats Sunday, 7 to 9. Come through and see you there.